What is going on, guys? This is Kobe with Sample Source, back with another video. In today's video, we're going to talk about two different things, basically how to be successful as a music producer in 2022 and what exactly does that mean, and also the limitations surrounding why two people can use the same information. Maybe it's on how to get beat sales and they're both getting different results. So we're going to jump into that and solve both of those problems.
I appreciate all the support. If you guys would like and comment and subscribe to the channel, then we'll get into the video.
Okay, so before I get started in this video, I want to let you guys know that if you are looking to increase your sales using outreach on Instagram, just a fancy term for sending DMs and trying to get beat sales, then I actually have a free Instagram sales training below in the description. So you can actually go and join in. It starts every 15 minutes and you can go and watch the presentation that shows basically reverse engineers how I got to the conclusion of this is the best way to get beat sales on Instagram if you're actually using manual outreach. And I've used those strategies used in the video to actually make over $50,000 in the last 2.5 years or so using just DMs. So I really wanted to share that with you guys. It's below in the description completely for free. So make sure you go and watch that. So to jump into the video, first, I want to talk about the time constraints that people use as an excuse and a cop-out to be successful as a producer or to invest time into their craft, because we all know that once you get to that 10,000 hour marker, you're actually become an expert at your craft and somebody that can really be considered an expert in the field. So the reason why a lot of people use time as a cop-out is because they're simply wasting time in a lot of different areas and they don't know that they can actually flip the script and use that limit of time supposedly to actually be more successful and more focused. So what I want to use as an example is when I used to work my full-time job, I worked 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And when I got home, I would make a meal and then I would go to the gym. And when I came back, I would have maybe 2 to 3 hours before I would need to go to sleep and wake up and do it all over again. So within those 2 to 3 hours, I decided that I was going to devote every waking moment into my business. So 2 to 3 hours a day into my business easily. I would actually go much longer than that, and become sleep deprived. But I think it's healthy to devote 2 hours into your business every day. In a lot of areas that we waste time in that simply are not important in the grand scheme of things is video games. Sometimes we hang out with friends and we're not even doing anything. Sometimes you're just on your phone scrolling through social media, laughing at funny videos, and you're not really actually doing anything that has any purpose to it. So if you actually want to change your life and you want to invest more time into your craft and become a better producer, start getting more beat sales, you want to actually network with a lot of cool people in the music industry, then you need to actually be intentional about setting aside 2 hours a day to network with people. Set aside 2 hours a day to look up YouTube tutorials and learn some new tips and tricks in your DAW. Set aside 2 hours a day to actually reach out to artists, figure out what their needs are, and try to get some beat sales. So if you're actually applying those things, then you can use that 2 hours to really change your life. And while a lot of people are goofing off on a PS5, or Xbox, you can actually be doing something that can change your life and start to increase your income and increase your brand presence online. So I think that those are all really good things. It took me about 2 years to actually build up my business enough to be full-time, and I had to devote at least 2 hours a day, even on Saturdays, even on Sundays, into my business in order to grow it into what it is today. So a lot of people use the excuse of, I have a family, I have a significant other, I have kids, I don't have time because my job overworks me, and all of those things can be considered valid reasons and people will give attention to that. But I submit to you that all of those, you can actually flip the script and say, because I have so little time to work on my business, I have to be hyper focused in order to get the same results as somebody who's maybe not even in school yet. Maybe they have a lot of free time on their hands and they're able to devote so much more time into producing than you, but are those actually quality hours? So if you only have 30 minutes a day, you better make the 30 minutes count. So I used to come home from my lunch break. I had an hour-long lunch break in the middle of the day. I lived 10 minutes away from my job, so I would drive back and I would produce and handle my business while I was on my lunch break. And then once it got to that 15-minute marker, I would get back in my car and go back to work. And that's just how much that I wanted it. I'm not saying that to boast or anything like that, but I really wanted to change my situation. And so I did whatever it took. And whenever I had any spare time, I devoted all of that into music production and music business. So if that's where you're at and you want to change your scenario, you have to look at it through that lens of, I have less time on my hands, so I'm going to use what little time I have of my precious time that is limited to devote back into my business and switch things around for myself. So that's what I would definitely work on, is time management skills, because that is just so crucial. When I got to be full time, I did not realize this, but I had an extra 8 hours a day, really 9 hours, to do whatever I wanted to. And that can be a curse. It can be a curse more than it's a blessing, because when I had very little time to devote to my craft, 4 hours or less, I was super productive within those 4 hours. So use that as a superpower. So those are my tips for being successful as a producer in 2022. And I want to solve the second question, which I get asked a lot, is I'm using the info that you're providing in these courses. I see some people are making hundreds of dollars a week. Some people are making thousands of dollars a month, or they've made thousands overall from using the same tips as me, but I'm not getting any beat sales. So why are we seeing the same information? We're hearing it and we're getting different results. So these are going to be some harsh realities and also just some things to think about. So a lot of the time it comes back to that same scenario that I presented earlier, which is, how badly do you actually want it? So I used to listen to Lifestyle Did It on and DJ Payne on YouTube, and they put out some great videos on how to get beat sales. And I would apply all of that knowledge to the fullest and basically see, like, what are any of the limits to these? How far can I take this? Can I devote an hour a day into reaching out to people? Can I devote 2 hours, maybe 3 hours? Because some people are going through hashtags, they're going through artist pages, they're finding people from YouTube, they're finding artists to reach out to on SoundCloud, and they're only doing that for 20 minutes a day. So if I do that for an hour a day consistently, if they're only reaching out to 5 people a day and I'm reaching out to 50, I'm doing 10x what they're doing it, and I'm doing it for 10 times as long. I'm not going to quit until I find the extent to which that works. So if you're using the example of manual outreach and sending DMs on Instagram to get beat sales, then you need to devote time into it. You need to devote attention to detail. The script that you're sending out, you got to figure out, like, where are artist pain points? Like, where can I really hit home with them and develop a connection? How can I develop rapport faster? You need to be experimenting with different scripts. You need to be monitoring your responses and seeing what really is hitting home with artists, so that you can actually relate better to them and deliver on what they actually want from you. So if you figure out that and you dial in your offer, maybe a bulk deal of buy one get three free works better for you. Maybe it's buy two get two free. Maybe that works better and you're increasing your average cart value size. So you need to think about all of those different things and just experiment. And that's what I did for over 2 years before I figured out how to really get these beat sales, and it works consistently to this day. And it doesn't matter how many people are using the strategy. It doesn't matter how many artists I reach out to. I have an unlimited supply to reach out to and get beat sales consistently every single week. So that's the first factor, is how badly do you want it? The second one is actually listening and not comparing and criticizing others, because a lot of people will go and look and see me giving out free information and they'll say, oh, that's generic information. And they basically are going and comparing generic with it doesn't work. And that's the main problem that you have if that is you today. So if you're comparing information that people giving out and they're saying it over and over again, and you're like, I've already heard this before, I'm going to move on to the next video, I'm going to try to find some secret, then you're missing out on the biggest opportunity that's right in front of your face, because people keep telling it to you. You just haven't expounded on that and gone into detail with it. So when somebody says something more than twice, you should really pay attention to it. So when someone says the best way to get sales using DMs is to be personal, and you are spamming artists, don't expect to get beat sales, because everyone's being more personal than you. And so a lot of artists are feeling a greater connection with other producers because they're doing whatever it takes to actually serve that person individually. And you are sending out 100 messages a day and you don't even care about that artist. So that's your main problem if that's you. That's all I'm saying. So that is just a little bit of information on how to be more successful in terms of using the information that's provided you, because some people have very few tools, they have very few resources, and they still are more successful than you. and you have all the tools and resources at your disposal. So make sure you're using the resources you have to the fullest, and you are actually experimenting on your own, coming up with your strategy, coming up with your formula, and sticking to it for a long time and working hard at it. So those are the two things that I would work on if I were you and I was just starting out trying to get beat sales. So once again, we covered how to be successful as a music producer in 2022 and how to use information in the best way possible so that you can get beat sales if you're not successful already with getting beat sales online. So hopefully this video has been helpful to you. Make sure that you watch the Instagram sales training video below in the description. It's completely free. It runs every 15 minutes, and just set aside about 45 minutes to an hour to actually get through the presentation. And it's going to reverse engineer how I got to the conclusion of this is the best way to get beat sales online. So I'm going to share that with you, and I really appreciate you watching the video. Hope it was helpful for you, and I will see you in the next one.